Good evening, everyone that is watching on JCTV Africa. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful evening as we talk about what is said by Comrade Geza. Now, we are going to those that have not watched the video, please go and check it out on Heart and Soul TV. But I'm going to touch on a few things that has been pointed out, some of the things that I was complaining and some of the things that people were talking about. So if you are here, please, if you want to be part of this conversation in form of your contribution, this is an open mic. So please send us your message on this one, on this number. Send us your voice note so that we can play it during the show. And later in the show, we are also going to play an audio that we had with another political analyst. We were supposed to have Promise Mkwananzi to dissect on this matter, but he said he is still busy right now. But that being said, we are still going to be talking to you and we're going to have this open conversation. It's not me that is going to be talking all the way. So if you are there, you have your contribution, please give it up now so that we can hear what your thoughts about it. The WhatsApp voice note is that one. Please send us your voice note as soon as possible, and we will play it here live on the air. So that being said, let me just dive into the key points that have been mentioned by Blessed Geza. The first point that he said was that he said that they have a plan and they want to give us a signal as Zimbabwe. That was the first thing. He said they have a plan and they want to do a massive protest. Like what I said last time, that there is a plan. The issue of Operation Restore Legacy, like 2017, is off the table. What they want is a massive protest and petition and to stop 2030 and say we are down with 2030, and then the other things are going to follow. So that is the master plan, and then other phases will continue. So that is the first thing that he said. And then he also mentioned the issue of that the police are not supposed to stop people. Time immemorial, since 2017. Only in 2018, before the elections, that's when people were allowed to protest. Since then, opposition has not been allowed to do massive protests without being harassed, without being brutalized by the police. One would remember how many people have been injured by the police. Remember that man who was injured and he was bleeding in the streets of Harare. So the protests that have been done by opposition, all of them, they have been stopped by, it said that they have been told that you can't do them, or they've been told that we don't have enough, or a number of things since 2018. So we haven't had a proper opposition, a proper protest. The one that happened in 2019, how it ended. People ended up being hospitalized. Some people killed. January 2019, the notorious one. So these are the things. We need people to protest freely, exercise their constitutional right, and this is what Blessed Geza was saying. And then the other thing that he spoke about Gukura Hundi. He said that Gukura Hundi needs to be addressed as quick as possible. And he also said that there is need to address this issue once and for all and make sure that the people of Matabeleland are happy. And I would love to hear your thoughts about that. If you're from Matabeleland, what do you make? And he said that there is no development in Matabeleland, and the government has been neglecting Matabeleland for the longest time. I was in Matabeleland last year. I was in Gwanda, in Fumukwe last year. And the truth be told, that area is very, very, very underdeveloped. Very, very underdeveloped. The people there most of them, they rely on, they depend on South Africa for everything. And it's very, very sad that you see these people living in such a sorry state whilst they have a country that is full of natural resources. But as we are driving from Gwanda, you would then find there are trucks. There is a mine that is close to Gwanda, whereby they are mining a lot of gold there. But if you look then at the Gwanda area, most people, they rely on their relatives that are in South Africa. So he mentioned something like that. And then he also mentioned the issue of transitional authority, what I was talking about, Kuti. There is need for transitional authority, because what we don't want is to replace, to have ZANU-PF being replaced by ZANU-PF. It's the one and the same thing. So we can't have such a scenario in our country. It is not sustainable. It is not something that we can be happy about. But before I keep on talking, I would want you to hear what I want to what the conversation that I had with Elia Dikajume earlier on, as we were unpacking this as we were unpacking this speech of Blessed Geza. So let's get into that speech so that you can hear what he was talking about. Be part of the conversation. Please join. Tell us what you think. Do you think this is a genuine clarion call by Blessed Geza? What do you make of it? If you are happy with it, tell us your thoughts. Do you think that is a good call by Blessed Geza, or this is just something that is within ZANU-PF that we as the citizens must not be interested in? That is my question. And this is what I had posed. Are you ready for Geza's signal as Zimbabwe? So are you ready yourself? Do you want to be part of this? Or you are saying, I don't want to have anything to do with this whole issue of Geza. I don't want to be part of it. It's not our core. It's not our fight. Let ZANU-PF fight on their own. We don't want to be part of it. That is the question. That's what I want you to talk to us about. So please, if you want to be part of that conversation, that's what I want to hear. Do you want to be part of the fight that Geza is talking about? Are you going to join? Are you going to join the protest? Because he has said that they were going to do protest, and he's saying Zimbabwe must wait for the signal. So let us hear what Geza was saying here earlier on, so for context. But my question to you is, do you want to be part of that? You want to be part of that protest? That is the question. He said, let us wait for the signal. It's coming. I don't know when. I also am waiting. So the question to you is, do you want to be part of that? Of that protest? I was saying my concerns yesterday that as much as we want to see a change in Zimbabwe, we must be careful not to wish something that will end up jeopardizing what we already have. You understand what I'm talking about? So that was the question. If you find, if we are so desperate for change, we can be desperate for change and end up in a difficult situation than what we are now. Right. As I'm checking now, I'm seeing Nelson Chamisa was on Newsroom Africa. Right. This is happening right now. You know, live news is always something else. But let me just pull out the video of Blessed Geza. Right. My apologies. I was hoping that my audio was going to work in my favor. But anyway, this is what it is. Sometimes live TV can be crazy. All right. Let's listen to what Geza.
Mnangagwa, the people of Zimbabwe are charging you with the following. One, presiding over a failed state, a nation that has failed its people. 50% of Zimbabweans are in poverty, while over 80% are jobless. You and your government has no plan whatsoever to correct these mistakes and failures. Two, constitutional abuse of office. You have captured the judiciary for personal gains, firing judges willy-nilly, and issuing threats when judgments don't conform to what you want. You have destroyed the very core of our democracy and legal system. Three, you have turned state resources to a personal playground, ceding state duties to your wife, who is abusing state resources, and he has become a Tsarian who hires and fires government workers at your whims. You have presided, you have presided over corruption, weaponizing ZAC for your own political fights. Your children and yourself are at the center of all corrupt activities. You invite criminals to State House because you yourself are a thief. Five, you have stolen people's happiness. Kubam Faruwe Ray. Mnangagwa must therefore just go. Ngashenda. And as we move forward, this is our plan. We put enough mechanism to make sure the revolution will not be hijacked again. Going forward, all stakeholders of various parties and civil groups will be consulted.
Right. That's what he was saying, that all the civil society people are going to be consulted. That's what he said. So that was my hope, and that is what we hoped for as Zimbabweans, that we don't want a situation of 2017 whereby Taizodzonzi the church in Chedu afterwards. So I'm ready with the audio that I had promised you earlier on of Eliad when I spoke to him earlier on. So I want you to listen to that so that you can also be participant of this conversation that we're having. So this was Blessed Geza earlier on, and he also touched on the issue here, cotton. I'm also a cotton grower. I used to grow cotton, but I left cotton growing because it's no longer profitable. You know, waitoita 50 mabero mopi wa mshonga yaka expire. What is that? So anyway, let us listen to the audio that I had with Eliad earlier on.
There are no issues that are difficult to go through.
All right, it's okay. All right, viewers and listeners, I have Eliad Kajume, one of our political analysts, who was part of our broadcast in the previous broadcast that we had in 2022. My brother, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks. How are you doing, Soph? And good evening to the viewers today.
All right. You watched the speech. What do you make of it? Does it satisfy you as a Zimbabwean or as somebody who is fighting for a better Zimbabwe? What do you make of this speech?
First of all, I want to make it clear that the issues that Geza has been raising, there are issues that the people of Zimbabwe have been raising for quite a long period of time now. Since time immemorial, since from the formation of the MDC, they are the same issues that Tsvangirai and all the other comrades, some of which have died, have been talking about. And it is clear also to everyone with a reasonable mind that this issue is a ZANU-PF issue. However, with every call that he has been making and whatever that has been saying, it shows that he wants to rope in people, or the warface wants to rope in people, probably like the same way they did in 2018. However, we do not really know if their call is changing to say they want to include everyone, by saying they're going to include everyone by civil society organizations and everyone and so forth. Hopefully, people will get to see a better Zimbabwe coming out if ever whatever they're planning succeeds. But generally, this is an PF issue, and these are their internal fights of succession battles that they're just. But because we as general citizens, we always suffer when elephants stumble on the grass because they are the governing party at the moment. Partly, that is what I can say on that.
All right. Looking at your conversations inside the opposition and your colleagues and friends, are they skeptical? Because, you know, people are saying we don't want to be used like what happened in 2017. I saw Promise Mkwanans making a tweet saying that they support also Tendai BT, saying that this is a clarion call for everyone. Do you think they are in support of this? And if they're in support of this, are they making any, do they have anything solid? Maybe, you know, you might have heard something in some corridors to say they are negotiating ABCD.
I do not want to speak for the opposition. I don't want to speak for whoever and whatever they will be deciding concerning the issue at hand. But I want to speak for myself and probably a few other friends that I discuss some of these issues with. What I can say is people, they are very skeptical. Those that I've been in conversation with, they're very skeptical of whatever that is happening because people have been used before. And I'm sure you know the famous Namasa statement after the coup when he said, Shinjedu. You know, I'm sure you know about that.
Yes.
So, because history tends to repeat itself, and ZANU-PF knows that they do not have the majority support, and the majority support can only come in if they rope in the opposition members, the leadership in the opposition. So by themselves, they know that they cannot be able to mobilize a crowd that can be able to be convincing enough to say, Mnangagwa must go by themselves. They can only win to say, let's do this if the opposition, those with the will of the people, those that are mandated by the people are part of it. So, like I said, I can't speak on behalf of the opposition, but I can speak on my own behalf. But however, from what I've been seeing, I see that some of the guys seem to be in support of whatever that is happening. I can't say there's some discussion that are happening behind closed doors. Probably there is. I don't know much of it. But if there is, I hope that their discussions are centered on creating a solution and a result that is best for everyone in this country. People, they just want a stable, safe life where they are treated equally and fairly and not treated like animals outside Zimbabwe. I think that is what I can say concerning that.
All right. Yes, this process, are you optimistic about it? Do you think Mnangagwa is not going to go out without a fight?
I do not think so. Mnangagwa is a ruthless dictator. He's very ruthless. And those that are close to him, those that I've seen him operate, especially in Kwekwe and Midlands, they will know that he's very ruthless. And I don't think he will be like Mugabe to just say, no, if you guys have agreed to do this forcefully, I'm going to just leave it and let you win. I don't think Mnangagwa is going to just let it slide like that. I think those guys that he's mobilizing in Kwekwe, Owen, Muda, they know, and his crew beside him and around him, they know that they've got issues that they'll be tried in court for. And I'm sure that a lot of tension has been created within the ZANU-PF camp, that they are also afraid that if they just let it go like that, they are going to face a lot of persecution after all this process has been done. So I don't think he's going to just let it go like that. However, if they ever decide to fight, I think they are also fighting a losing battle, because some people I know, which there are a lot of people that were growing in skepticism towards how the opposition has been operating lately, because there is no voice that has been representing a lot of people in Zimbabwe concerning the issues that have been affecting them. So I know which is some people that are in a position to say, let's just go with what is there. Of course, they may be used, but they are saying, let's just give it a try. It's not something that I would encourage people to do without knowing the final outcome. But yeah, conclusively, I don't think Mnangagwa is just going to let go and say, let me give you this silver platter freely without giving it a fight, because he knows and he has a lot to protect. His loot and the corruption that has been happening in Zimbabwe and the friends around him, definitely he will fight.
All right. Lastly, before I let you go, there is the issue of you spoke about the opposition vacuum that is there in the opposition, and you said that if there's a vacuum, obviously someone has to fill that vacuum. Blessed Geza has been talking about a national transitional authority. Do you think that's the best way, or is just want to entice us?
I think for a certain time, let me start answering the last question about the National Transitional Authority. I think for a certain period of time, I was advocating to say Zimbabwe needs to find each other. Everyone in Zimbabwe needs to find each other. Let's govern together. Let's have a permanent solution of a government of national unity. We would not say after elections the winner takes it all. Let us share. Let us learn to share. Even in our own traditional way of doing things, we are always sharing and doing things together. So I think that is the best way. We saw it happening in 2009, 2013 when we had a government of national unity. It was successful. A lot of things started changing. If we had maintained that same structure, which we can constitute and say, let's make this a permanent structure to say, even if the opposition loses, they have a certain representation and they've got a certain portfolios and whatever that they're going to govern in our nation. I think if we work as a united front, we can be able to achieve great goals. If we have national interests that we are all protecting in government and in opposition, we can be able to achieve a lot of things. And also on what was the question again on the one you're asking about?
The vacuum in the opposition.
Oh, okay. So yes, about the vacuum, it's a natural phenomenon to say that whenever a vacuum is created, it is bound to be filled. There's been a lot of silence and inconsistency in how opposition has been running its things in Zimbabwe from way before 2023, before election.
Yeah.
And a lot of gaps, mistakes were made. Some people, they even gave up to say they will not vote before 23 and even after. Now it's worse. A lot of people are no longer interested in voting, including myself, because there is no reason to if things are as they are now. So it is obvious that because no one is doing anything, in ZANU-PF or outside ZANU-PF, one person is bound to fill that gap. And sometimes we may not even like the person who is coming in to fill that gap. Yeah. But because people do not have a choice, like I said, they will just end up taking what's there because they want to give a fight. They want to take a fight. They want to achieve something. So they will just end up taking anything out of desperation, which also may bring forth serious consequences,
Yes.
because people are just doing things out of desperation. Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. Elliot, thank you so much for joining us on this show, and thank you for your insights about the Blessed Geza's rhetoric. We'll definitely be having you one of these days to unpack some of this as it happens. Thank you for coming.
I really appreciate it, and thank you. Good night to you as well.
All right.
Have a good night.
All right.
Sure.
That was Elliot Kajume earlier on. He had other commitments by the time when the live was going to start, so we had to do a call earlier. So tell me what you think. Mnofunge vana veZimbabwe licabanga kanjani abantwana beZimbabwe ukuthi izinto ezenzakalayo kwenzakalani. Lina abantu abakumaThebeleland, what do you think of isicelo sika Blessed Geza? He spoke about Zipra properties that are not yet been remitted. I once attended a Zipra meeting, and they spoke about this issue of Zipra properties that were confiscated in the 80s that have not yet been returned to the Zipra people or to the Zipra contributors who managed to make contributions just after the war in order for them to have a better life. Their properties were confiscated by ZANU during the 80s. Those properties were never returned, even during the time of the unity government, when there was that marriage of convenience between Joshua Nkomo and Robert Mugabe. Now, he spoke about that those properties needs to be returned. I know, what's his name, the late Lieutenant Colonel Chinga spoke about it, but it has never been addressed. The issue of the properties of Zipra are very, very crucial because they need to be compensated. Imagine your property being held for over 40 years, and that property could have generated you money. You could have invested and reinvested and gotten your return of investment, and now it is being confiscated just because you have been labeled a terrorist, and then you have been removed from a terrorist organization, and now your properties are not returned. Imagine 1987 until 1999 when Joshua Nkomo died, over 11 years, those properties were not returned. And then after, we had the likes of John Land Nkomo being the vice president, those properties were never returned. Joseph Musika, none of those properties were returned. Very, very big travesty. And that's why Zipra opted to, or ZAPU opted to leave out of the marriage of convenience in 2010 because they felt they were being taken for a ride by ZANU-PF. Even those that they are those that chose to stay, but they were told that we are no longer part of this marriage between ZANU-PF and Zipra. But you know that has happened. So he spoke about that. What do you make of also of that? That being said, so I'm waiting for your voice note. If you have your thoughts on this subject, please send us so that we can play it on our next broadcast. That being said, I don't see myself continuing with this broadcast, but I just wanted to unpack what has happened. Let me just read some of your comments. Gladstone Petro, they are faced with treason charges. Which sentence is death? Where is the signal? Right? Maxwell is saying, whether he is genuine or not, it will push things to become normal because one day RG, you can see that people are now believing themselves. Right? Yeah, because removing RG was such a thing, eh? Right. Isabella is saying that you cannot have a government of national unity with sources. Yeah, it's an issue because here in South Africa they don't agree, but they had a government of national unity which consisted of different parties. Why can't we do it with just two parties in Zimbabwe? You know, opposition and the ruling party, a government, a proper government of national unity, not this under the table of something that is proper. Not what we had. Something that we had in 2009 was better. It was negotiated GPA, but this one that they are trying to have a marriage of convenience with Sengozi Chabang, it's a bogus one. It's a fake. We don't want that one. So I personally will not support that. But tell me what you think. We have seen Varakash getting a little bit quieter. Is this a game? Are they trying to hoodwink us? You know, you never know with ZANU-PF. So tinoto vra so one takavhara rimwe not knowing kuti zviri kufamba sei. But that being said, thank you so much for joining. Hopefully tomorrow we're going to have other guests that are going to unpack as we talk about this this matter. And I believe we are going to have a lot of comments and a lot of actions as we'll be watching events as they unfold. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Good night.